For question number 15, this time we need to get 3 secant squared x all by itself. So we will have 3 secant squared x equals 4. Now we'll divide by 3. So secant squared x equals 4 over 3. Now we need to get rid of the square. So to get rid of the square, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And in doing so, I will end up with the secant of x equals plus or minus. The square root of 4 would be 2, and it would be over the square root of 3. And again, at this point, I'm not going to rationalize this because I don't really want secant. Secant is the reciprocal identity of cosine. So now I'm going to have the cosine of x is going to equal plus or minus. The reciprocal of 2 over the square root of 3 will be the square root of 3 over 2. So again, you would get a point for writing the secant of x answers and the cosine answers. And now we need to look up the value of plus or minus the square root of 3 over 2 on our unit circle. And in this case, we're going to have probably 4 answers since we have a plus or minus option going in here. So I'm looking for the square root of 3 over 2 and the cosine, which is the first slot. And the first time it appears is at pi over 6. So one answer is going to be x equals pi over 6. My next answer was square root of 3 over 2. Negative 1 is at 5 pi over 6. Continuing around this circle. Next, we are going to have negative square root of 3 over 2 at 7 pi over 6. And you can maybe see that once we have 1 in the 6, we're going to probably all be in the area of the 6's. So my next answer was 7 pi over 6. And then my last one will be over here at 11 pi over 6. And then my last answer will be over here at 11 pi over 6. Question number 17 is a little different. This one's already factored for us. So all I have to do is set each factor equal to 0 and write my 0 products. So the first one is just going to be sine x would equal 0. And then the second one would be sine x equals, remember when we look at this, we go the opposite of this value. So sine x would equal negative 1. So from here, this would be my first set of points that I would have. And now I need to look these up on the unit circle. On the unit circle, remember, it is cosine sine. So I'm looking in the second slot for sine, and right here I have 0. And on this front side, we are supposed to use the values of 0 through 2 pi. So I can use 0 for one answer. So one of them is going to be x equals 0. And then I'm also going to have x equals 2 pi. So it's kind of like winner, winner, chicken dinner. You win twice at that location. And now we need to just double check and see if we have any other places where the sign is 0. So going around here, that would be the cosine, so that one doesn't work. The other spot that it works is over at the value of pi. We'll continue checking around our circle just to make sure that we don't have any other sign values of 0. Now I need to look up the sign of x being negative 1. So going around the circle looking for negative 1. And it occurs that it only happens at the value of 3 pi over 2.